this is Professor William Wagner, and it's Truth Tuesday here at Salt and Lake Global in the Great Lakes Justice Center. What can we learn from Canada and Australia about liberty? Well, the one thing I think we can learn is that you can lose it if you don't protect it. Our third president, Thomas Jefferson, observed that the natural progress of things is for liberty to yield and government to gain ground. Almost 2 centuries later, another American president, Ronald Reagan, reminded us that freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children, he said. We didn't pass it on in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. In Canada and Australia, government regimes have exponentially increased their attacks on religious liberty, especially the civil liberties of its citizens that are most cherished by all people, that of assembly, that of freedom of speech, that of the free exercise of religious conscience. And they are attacking these civil liberties increasingly with draconian coercion by force of law and penalty. The civil and human rights, again, most attacked by the government regimes here, include these precious freedoms that we cannot be a free society without. We cannot have a free society if we don't have the right to assemble. We cannot be a free society if we do not have the right to freedom of speech or the right to religious conscience. Most troubling, though, perhaps, is that none of these regimes deny that they are substantially interfering with the civil and human rights of their citizens. Instead, they brutally justify their gross violations of civil and human rights, using police powers to send their message that government might defends what is right, while silencing, everybody else. Our first president, George Washington, observed, "If the freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led like sheep to a slaughter." So when it comes to liberty, Canada and Australia teach us that we can lose it. Here in the USA, courts and the administrative state, by way of licensing mechanisms, continue to diminish these same liberties that I've been talking about. For example, in a case before our U.S. Supreme Court right now, in which the Great Lakes Justice Center is involved, a Christian coach after the game bowed a knee in prayer. The government school used its power and came down hard. The coach no longer has a job. And again, understand, the government here does not dispute that it violated the man's constitutional liberty. It just deems that it was justified in doing so. This should cause all of us in this nation pause, and it should cause us to wake up. Our liberties are not passed from generation to generation in the bloodstream. Each one of us, if we are to ensure that our children and that our grandchildren are going to be free, we must be sure that in a nation where we still elect our representatives and we delegate to those representatives the exercise of power, we must make sure that we are always able to remind them and to hold them accountable for doing so, and to remind them that they are always under a higher law, a law that says in our Constitution, you shall not infringe on the freedom of assembly, the free exercise of religious conscience, the freedom of expression. That is what is known as the rule of law. And if we do not hold our elected officials and our judiciary accountable to this standard, you can be sure that the things you are seeing in Canada and Australia now, the brute use of force, the brute use of the law and punishment to remove these cherished freedoms, will more fully become not just evident here, but will become a part of the way of life. It cannot stand. Truth and freedom must continue to reign in this country. And it is through the peaceful willingness of our citizens to stand up for those freedoms that we will guarantee that it shall be passed on to the next generation. Until next time, this is Professor William Wagner. It's Truth Tuesday, and this is Salt and Lake Global and the Great Lakes Justice Center. God bless you, and I'll see you next time.